Good. So let's get started. So yeah, welcome to this week's seminar. And our today's speaker is Sudeep Yana, who did his PhD in Oklahoma with Babu. And Sudeep is an expert on neutrino physics. He has been working on a broad range of neutrino physics phenomenology and is currently a postdoc at the Max Planck Institute in Heidelberg. And today he will be telling us about neutrino as a gateway to new physics. So please.
Thanks, Mikhail, for the nice introduction, and thanks everyone for joining. So, yeah, I'll talk about this neutrino as a gateway to new physics. Uh, this is my actually outline. I'll talk about the neutrino mass generation mechanism, and my talk will go like this. First, I'll touch energy frontier, then it will go to lifetime, intensity, and cosmic frontier. Let's see how it goes. So before going to the details, let me tell some background about the neutrino physics or the neutrino oscillations. So neutrino flavor oscillations have been firmly established from several experiments, like almost like 100 experiments in last 50 years. There's nice table of that. Just I'm highlighting here few experiments which are very like important on, like solar neutrino experiment, atmospheric neutrino, reactor antineutrino and accelerator neutrino experiments. And these oscillations can happen only if neutrinos have non-zero masses. So far, there is no consistent any other theory which can explain these oscillations without neutrino mass. People have tried for like some dark matter neutrino interaction, but no consistent theory has not been developed yet. So it can happen only if you have non-zero masses. And this U matrix, it's mostly assumed to be unitary, but it needs experimental check. By saying mostly unitary means because it is related with some non-standard interaction. Later I'll clarify it. So for two neutrino flavor, you can write down the oscillation probability in vacuum, as I write down here. This delta M is the mass splitting between neutrinos, length and the energy. Okay, for similarly for three neutrino flavor, you can write down the UPMNS matrix. Okay, so there are you can say 9 parameters here. You can see 3 mixing angle, and if you see this diagonal phase, which is 2 Majorana phase and 1 Dirac phase, and 3 mass parameters. So far, all 3 mixing angles and 2 mass splittings have been measured with few percent precision. So what we don't know yet, the Dirac phase, Majorana phase, but recently there are some measurement from T2K, which say delta CP, they have some measurement with 3 sigma. So and this is the central value. There is also there is a mass ordering ambiguity, normal ordering versus inverted ordering, and unitarity of UPMNS remains to be tested. So basically, so next decades or the goal is to precisely make first of all pinpoint the delta CP, then ambiguity of these two mass ordering, normal or inverted ordering, and the consistency of these three flavor oscillations, like just pinpointing these 3 angles more precisely. These are the mostly goal of the neutrino oscillation experiment. However, um, since neutrino gets mass, we don't know yet what is the mechanism behind that. So for that, there are several evidences, like you can go beyond the standard model, like dark matter, matter-antimatter asymmetry, and other things. But for sure, for one reason, like neutrino mass and mixing, which is the strong evidence, you have to go beyond standard model. Even if you are introducing some right-handed neutrino, that is not in the standard model, because in standard model there is no right-handed neutrino. Now, if you are writing like similar like the other fermion, like top quark or other quark or other leptons, how charged lepton gets mass, if you write down some Yukawa times electroweak wave, you will see the Yukawa is very tiny, less than 10 to the power minus 12. So due to that, there are several propositions comes for like how to explain these tiny neutrino masses and mixing. It is technically natural in truth sense, but these small values are protected by symmetry at a cutoff scale lambda. It's natural in the sense if you set MF to be 0, this delta MF will be 0, but it's not like the Higgs case where there is a quadratically divergent. So basically, so far, two consistent way to generate the smallness of this neutrino mass is one by suppression by integrating out heavy states. If you have some heavy state, then you can integrate it out, and another one is by quantum loop correction. You can explain this tiny neutrino mass. So as I mentioned, in standard model there is no right-handed neutrino, so actually we cannot generate tiny neutrino mass. So lowest possible dimension is the dimension 5 operator, which is proposed by Weinberg, and as you can see, LLHH operator, and that is realized by several mechanism, which is called seesaw mechanism, which is at the 3 level like type 1, type 2, type 3, and these are the minimal seesaw. And there are slight variation of type 1, suppose a linear and inverse seesaw. And there is another mechanism which is called loop induced, 1 loop, 2 loop, and then several other models, but these are the mostly popular model in the literature. Okay, let's take a look. The seesaw model, as I said, the minimal 3 seesaw, type 1, type 2, and type 3. In type 1, what you do, like standard model, and then you introduce some singlet right-handed neutrino. Then you are integrating out the heavy states, this singlet right-handed neutrino, you are then getting tiny neutrino mass. As heavy it will be, then you will get the tiny neutrino mass. For type 2 seesaw, unlike the fermion, here you do not have to introduce any right-handed neutrino. Here you are adding a one scalar triplet, then you are integrating out the scalar triplet and you are generating tiny neutrino mass. For the type 3 case, here also you are introducing fermion, but unlike the type 1 case, this is SU12 triplet, and then you are integrating and generating tiny neutrino mass, as I show in the formula. So these are the minimal seesaw. However, there are like many models of neutrino mass. Then the question will arise, like, can we pinpoint some, like which one is the true one, or what is the new physics behind that? Can we test these or falsify these models as the experiments? Let's see. Let's see at the first, I'm starting with the energy frontier. So obviously energy frontier means like I'll mostly talk about the colliders, like if these new physics behind this neutrino mass generation mechanism appears in the TeV or sub-TeV scale, you can probe these at colliders. So let's, as I mentioned, the minimal seesaw, let's look at the first type 1 seesaw. How you can look for this new physics? Since you have a singlet right-handed neutrino, you can you do not have direct coupling with W. Via the mixing with the active neutrino, then you can produce it. Since then it will further decay and you will get some lepton number violating signature. You will get same sign dilepton plus dijet. Or like if it is too boosted, then you will get same sign dilepton plus say one fat jet, something like that. So here no missingity involved. So this is fairly clean signature because in standard model there is no lepton number violation. So people have tried to look for this process, and there are lots of literature in this. So you can prove type 1 seesaw like that way, but no compelling evidence so far yet found at LHC experiment. So now typically I am just showing one bound on mixing and mass plane. You can put a bound, and current bound, suppose say for 100 GeV right-handed neutrino mass, almost like mixing is 10 to the power minus 3 or so. That much tight constant is there. Also, there are several models along the same line. So if you have, suppose a slight variation is left-right symmetry, this will be exactly similar sort of signature, same sign dilepton plus dijet. In addition to W here, there will be extra WR boson, and it will be enhanced. The production will be enhanced due to another mode. and similar type of bound is applicable. You can look at the similar signature for that type of scenario also. Okay, so if you slightly deviate from type 1 seesaw, uh, if you generate neutrino mass via inverse seesaw, the thing is that then your this right-handed neutrino doesn't lead to lepton number violating signature, because due to the extra mu term or the very tiny lepton number violation, it will behave like pseudo Dirac type of nature. I'll tell in detail later. So it will give rise to trilepton plus missing AT signature, not like earlier, not like the same sign uh, lepton you cannot get here. So and the current bound in mixing and mass plane for say, electron flavor and muon flavor, this is the current bound, and that's how you can look into it for the inverse seesaw. Okay, what about the type 2 seesaw? For the type 2 seesaw, basically there is, as I mentioned, there is some scalar triplet, and there you have some double charge scalar, and which has some lepton number violating coupling. So you can get same sign pure same sign dilepton signature. You can reconstruct it, and this is fairly clean signature at the LHC. But we are also at the collider, we are not getting anything there. So the bound is very tight, around 700, 800 GeV, depending on the flavor. So type 2 seesaw smoking gun signature is same sign dilepton signature, as I mentioned, like via this double charge scalar. Okay, there are also lots of literature, and also I have one work with Babu also here. By the way, so this, if you if you are looking at the double charge scalar, it's not only the smoking gun signature of only type 2 seesaw, it appears in various others model also. So if you can get some same sign dilepton signature, that also can be reflected to the other model, like radiative neutrino mass model, which is proposed by Babu, two loop model. And there also you can get this type of similar signature. Type 2 seesaw model, as I mentioned, even if left right symmetric model, there also you have some scalar triplet, which leads to also similar signature. Little Higgs model or Georgheim-Hachek model, dimension 7 model. So okay, what about the type 3 seesaw? Type 3 seesaw, unlike the type 1 seesaw, since these triplet fermions are the part of SU2L triplet, uh, there is no mixing parameter here. Only it's depend on the mass, because since this is a triplet under SU2, you have direct coupling with W. So you are producing it. It's not a function of anymore the mixing with the active neutrino. So you can just put a bound on the directly on the mass, and the current bound, looking at the prompt signature, is almost 800 GeV for this heavy fermion. And similar like type 1, type 2, type 3 seesaw, Babu and their Tabhat trial, they proposed a minimal dimension 7. So far we talked about the dimension 5 operator model, like which proposed by Weinberg, and then the minimal dimension operator dimension 7 model. This is a minimal model, where instead of triplet you have some quadruplet, and then you can see like the neutrino mass is getting mass by dimension 7 operator. That's how the physics can be much more light scale. And the smoking gun signature of that will be same sign trilepton signature, and we explored in detail, and like we saw the current bound from different things, electric precision test, G Higgs invisible decay, and the future sensitivity at LHC. So this is the summary of the so far the minimal seesaw at the energy frontier. Then we can ask ourselves, is it really sufficient to search for this new physics scale behind neutrino mass generation by looking at the prompt signature? So there could be another possibility. So suppose these particles are long lived, and which has some direct correlation with the neutrino parameters. Maybe that's why we are not getting some prompt signatures at the collider. And these displaced vertex signatures are generally very clean, and then they allow us to search for such a particle with only a few events at the LHC or future collider. If it is singlet under standard model gauge group, it can escape the detector, and we cannot look for the prompt signature at the detector. Let's look at that possibility. So this is a nice proposition by Curtin they proposed this Mathusla detector, which is like fairly low standard model background and ideal for new physics searches. And they propose, suppose you have some Higgs portal something, some long-lived particle, and which is decay back to standard model. If your decay length and in the cross-section plane, these are the sensitivity for different experiment. HLLHC, as you can see, the top one, then Mathusla, LHEC, and FCCH machine. So this is kind of Higgs portal long-lived particle production. Then being with Okada and Diges, we come up with this idea like, okay, let's look at this, let's took this thing, and in type 1 seesaw, you can embed this. So if you have some minimal gauged B minus L extension of standard model, just you introduce some right-handed neutrino. This is anomaly free and seesaw mechanism, and these right-handed neutrino, which are participating in the seesaw mechanism, like basically in the through type 1 seesaw, it can be long lived. It can be long lived, and you are producing via Higgs mixing, and then you are pair producing it, and then if it is long lived, it can and the decay with this long livedness of this right-handed neutrino, then you can ask like how you are controlling by this long lived nature of this right-handed neutrino. The answer is that you can directly write down the heavy neutrino decay width. Then you can see its decay length is independent of UMNS, and you can write this mixing in terms of lightest neutrino mass and the right-handed neutrino. And if you put the lightest of the light neutrino mass much lighter, then you can control the decay length. And if it is decay length is like it is too long lived in nature, then you can probe this similar way, like via this Higgs production, and then you can look for in different. We basically focused on Mathusla because this is a neutral long-lived particle, a good detector for that, and we probe in the Yukawa and mixing plane. What is the future reach for that? Obviously, there will be some Higgs to invisible decay with constant, so that we put it here. So so displacematic signatures, we talk about the type 1 case, and then after that we also follow up our work for the type 3 case. As I earlier mentioned, for the type 3 case, so here you do not need mixing with active neutrino state, or you do not need this type of Higgs mixing, because you can produce it directly via this G gamma external G gamma exchange. And as I said, this is a part of the triplet, SU12 triplet, so you can directly produce it. So it's only a function of mass, the production, only a function of mass. And here I showed like the cross section at the LHC and different LHC and FCCH machine. However, the decay modes depend on the mixing. Decay modes depend on the mixing of this neutral fermion and the charged fermions, and that you can connect with the neutrino parameters. Similar like earlier case, I'm not going in detail maybe. Then we showed that in the mass and C tau plane, we use the similar approach, like controlling the lightness of the light neutrino mass. You can control the C tau, and then we show the how much we can like what is the discovery reach for this type of triplet fermion, or for the type 3C sockets. We get that like as you see it in the top, like there is some HLLHC disappearing track. I mentioned since this is triplet, there is some charged component also, which can lead some disappearing track signature, and HLLHC projection is that. But as you see, LHEC or FCCH machine, which can be very good for lower C tau value. So the blue region rely on that, like 10 event is sufficient to explore this, and for the green one we consider for 100 event. Similar this for Chargino neutrino case, Oliver and group, like they wrote a similar paper on 2017 based on Chargino neutrino case. Okay, so So I talked about this minimal seesaw testing at the colliders or the energy frontiers. Now, I can ask, like we can ask ourselves, like despite numerous searches of neutrino mass models at TeV scales, no compelling evidence has been found so far. So the new physics scale behind neutrino mass generation mechanism might be at very light scale, which is less sensitive to high energy collider experiment. It may show up at low energy neutrino experiments in near future. There are lots of effort going on, as I mentioned at the first slide, that we are precisely measuring all these neutrino parameters, mixing angles or the mass ordering. But clearly, there is, if it is new physics is there, we can look for some new physics behind this neutrino mass generation mechanism at the intensity frontier or the neutrino experiment also. So can neutrino masses come from light physics? That is the difficult part of this thing, because yeah, so there is no other motivation that putting this new physics scale at TeV scale, because there is collider. If you see the standard seesaw mechanism and quantify it, if you take order of 1 Yukawa, then your actually new physics scale around 10 to the power 14 GeV scale. So so get some testable signature or something, we push it to like TeV scale or sub TeV scale. And also there are some nice model like left right symmetric model, and those models those lies in the TeV scale. But then why not at the very light scale? If everything is suppose coming below electroic scale, and still you are generating neutrino mass, and which is complicated because as I said, integrating out heavy state, you are getting the neutrino mass, so your state has to be heavy. So is there any way around that, how we can generate that? Yeah, there is some trick. Whenever you are generating neutrino mass, so neutrino mass lowest dimension operator is dimension 5, but if you go higher and higher dimension operator, then you can write down the neutrino mass like that, as I clearly write in the second formula. It's a generic formula. It's not true for every case, but if you write like LLHH, like standard model EFT approach, then you see there is a dimension suppression. If you generate neutrino mass via higher and higher dimension, then your new physics can scale be much lighter. And also there is 1/16 pi square to the power n. This n indicates the loop. If you are generating at 0 loop, then it's factor 1. If you go to higher and higher loop, then you see this new physics scale can be very light. However, I should mention one thing here. It's not so also easy, like whenever you are generating neutrino mass by a higher dimension operator, it's also generate the neutrino mass at the loop level, next loop level at the lower dimension operator. What I mean by that, like take the dimension 7 operator and take one example, LLHH H dagger H, this type of operator. But H dagger H is singlet under any symmetry. So although I generate dimension 7 operator at the tree level, I can complete one loop and I can get the neutrino mass via this lower dimension operator. I cannot restrict that. So we have to play it cleverly. I'll say, like I'll give one concrete example how you can restrict the lower dimension operator, but still you can generate neutrino mass via higher dimension operator, and that's how you are getting light neutrino mass. Okay, this is a symmetric diagram I showed. At the y-axis, this is the new physics scale, and x-axis the dimension of the operator through which you are generating neutrino mass. If you typically set the Yukawa at the order like 10 to the power minus to 1, you see the tree level seesaw demands the mass scale has to be 10 to the power 14 to 10 to the power 11, around that scale. If you go to one loop, then your new physics scale is getting some one loop suppression, and you can lower down the scale to 10 to the power 7 GeV. That's how you are lowering the new physics scale. Now, if you go from dimension 5 to dimension 7, you see tree level seesaw mass new physics scale is much lighter. That's how you are going to the much lighter scale. And here I show a band the sensitivity scale of LEP and LHC around sub TV scale and FCC. Still, below and above, there are lots of parameter space which has not been explored yet. So let's quantify some number and how you can achieve. I will give you one concrete example. So as I mentioned, in the standard seesaw, whenever you are integrating out this new singlet right-handed neutrino mass, for Yukawa 0.1, your new physics scale has to be 10 to the power 12 GeV. So lepton number is broken at very high scale Mn. So then people come up with some defined realization, which is called inverse seesaw or bent seesaw. If you introduce some other another extra term, which is lepton number violating, then you can write down neutrino mass via this formula. Instead of just a single mass, there is another lepton number violating term. By ad hoc, people take to be KV scale, and then your new physics scale lies around TeV. But there is no good explanation of this ad hocness or this why I will take this mu to be KV and bring down to this new physics scales to be TeV. This is just schematic diagram, as I earlier mentioned also. If mu is 10 to the power 14 GeV, that is behaves like standard seesaw, and then your right-handed neutrino is kind of Majorana nature. But if you low down this lepton number breaking scale, you can see you will get the inverse seesaw mechanism, but your this right-handed neutrino will get some quasi-Dirac nature, like the basically the pseudo-Dirac nature. So recently I wrote a paper with Pedro, Enrico and Renata, where we proposed some mechanism, kind of Flebon model, where your neutrino mass is get generated by this dimension 9 operator, and all scales are involved below electroweak. What is the trick we did? Instead of taking H dagger H extension, if you take H1 dagger H2, that type of, like, if this combination carries a flavor charge, then what will happen? You cannot generate the lower dimension operator. So your okay, let me so this is the diagram for this neutrino mass. What we did, if you see that this inverse seesaw mass matrix texture, generally this Dirac mass term are generated from the electroweak wave. Then this your M scale will be TeV. But if you somehow restrict this Dirac mass term from electroweak wave, if I assign some charge of this right-handed neutrino under this new dark symmetry, U1 symmetry, and Higgs, if doesn't participate in Dirac mass term, and I am getting some mass term or from some light wave, then your this M scale, if you look at this matrix, this your M or the new physics scale can be much lighter. As you go below this M, then this capital M will be much lighter also. This is the one trick. And the second trick is that, as I earlier mentioned, mu by ad hoc taken to be inverse seesaw KV scale. What I do, like if you assign these two right-handed neutrino, one with +1 and -1, it will be anomaly free. But due to this new charge, this right-handed neutrino doesn't qualify for the Majorana term. So you cannot write this mu term directly. You have to write some Yukawa times wave. Okay, now these two smallness of the wave, you can explain via this induced wave mechanism. If you write down these two scalar, S2 whatever I am writing, this is getting induced wave. Induced wave means, like, if you write down the scalar potential and write down positive mass term there, it will get some induced wave from S1, which is breaking the U1, and the phi1, the other scalar, also getting some induced wave from S1 and H. So typically the wave of S2 will go like Vs1 square over Ms2, and V of phi1 will go to Vs1 electroweak wave divided by mass of phi1. So that's how. So it talks and quark, like it's basically like inverse seesaw, but we explain this smallness of this mu term, as well as like we can bring down all the new physics scales very light scale. Yeah, this is a typical numerical all the numbers. I'm not going in detail, but everything is below electro scale, say MeV KV scale, and then you can get the successful neutrino mass generation via this higher dimension operator. Okay, obviously then the next question will arise that if all these things are at very light scale, and which is it's a realistic model, not like we are taking an effective theory approach. So there should be several imprints on either in cosmology or in neutrino experiments, or several experiments will give stringent constraint on that. Yeah, that's true. And there will be several implications at the neutrino experiment also. One example I'll give regarding our model, it's automatically come up that like there could be some, already said there are some anomaly here and there which could actually explain in this framework also. This is not the main motivation of the paper, the model paper, but it's like lowering down the new physics scale, but it automatically shows up that there are several explanation you can do. So we are aware of this LSND anomaly. LSND is like 0.8 GeV proton beam hits the target, and then you are producing new mu, and then you are looking for electron-like events, and they detected more new E bar than expected. It's kind of 3.8 sigma access. It was there. This is the schematic diagram. You can see proton hits the target, then producing pion and goes to nu mu, and we don't know how it oscillates to nu E. If there is no new physics, it's hard to explain this electron-like event. To test this LSND indication, actually Miniboon come up with, so they keep the L over E ratio same, but change the beam energy and systematics error. So baseline they keep like 15 times of LSND, and neutrino beam energy also they roughly give 15 times of LSND. But higher statistics, define systematics, event signatures, and backgrounds different from LSND. They try to test that. And they also get, this is in this paper probably on 2012, then they also show the similar type of axis in nu E and nu E bar event, which is 3.8 sigma. And this is the similar schematic diagram which I showed. And in 2018, they updated their result, and still they are consistent with their previous result, and they get more access on this electron-like event. And event access is like they get C81 events, which is almost 4.5 sigma access. Yeah, it's also possible that it could be due to background mismodeling or reconstruction problem or incorrect estimation of the background or new sources of background. However, whatever it is, we have to fix that, because this is consistently from LSND, last 14 years almost, like it is there. So if it is from background also, if they can pinpoint something, which will be good. And what if it is not? If it is a not background problem or reconstruction problem, what kind of new physics it would explain this scenario? First things comes in our mind. If you have a fourth neutrino state, neutrino state, which could explain, which in EV scale, first, like it cannot be active. The reason is that a fourth active neutrino is excluded by observation of invisible GV. So it cannot be active. By active means I'm talking like which has direct couplings to gauge bosons like G bosons and W bosons. So it needs to be sterile. Then you can do the similar exercise as we do for 3 flavor case. For the 4 flavor case, we can do the things, and then we can look for this nu mu disappearance and nu E appearance data. So you can write down these nu mu to nu E appearance in terms of the effective angle theta mu E, where this UE4 leads to nu E disappearance at the neutrino experiments, and mu4 leads to nu mu disappearance. However, there are like nice paper by Mona Dentler, Pedro, and Joachim and company. They showed that if you have some EV neutrino which is explaining with the 1 EV square or so. This is the red region is the consistent with the axis, which is ruled out by the free flux and fixed fluxes by other experiments, and which is 4.7 sigma tension between appearance and disappearance dataset under EV sterile interpretation. So EV sterile neutrino interpretation of minibone is very difficult, which is they showed like almost 4.7 sigma tension between this. Then people come up with, okay, if just not one sterile neutrino, what about n sterile neutrinos? This CNC group, and but shortcoming is that they are also failure to accommodate this low energy access. If you show this event spectrum, they add 1, 2, 3, but they cannot explain this event spectrum, the energy spectrum of the minimum. So this is the summary of the difficulty to explain minibone. Sterile neutrino at the EV scale present strong tension between datasets. Cosmological bounds further thread the EV sterile neutrino hypothesis. Yeah, obviously there will be some loopholes and things like that, but these are the general problem we have. Is there any explanation that is not ruled out, or is there a real model of this explanation, or can this relate to any of the theoretical problems of the standard model? The answer is yes. So we take the advantage like of this minibone. Okay, before I proceed, like I should mention, this minibone is a mineral well detector that can observe Cherenkov radiation of charged particles. Have you, I showed some ring how it looks like for electron and muon case. It looks like very fuzzy ring. For photon, for pion, it will looks like two overlapped ring because two photons. However, it cannot distinguish electron-induced Cherenkov cones from photon-induced Cherenkov cones. These minibone Cherenkov detectors. And this is a experimental distribution for angular spectrum will be forward, but not that much. I'm not going in detail. So our explanation is that, okay, suppose say you have a dark sector with a noble interaction, which is kind of dark photon, and which has strong interaction order 1 coupling with right-handed neutrino. Only this is kind of secret neutrino interaction. Then you have some mixing between right-handed and left-handed neutrinos leads to interaction in active neutrino sector. And there is some unavoidable kinetic mixing between this dark photon, and there is a kinetic mixing between photon and the dark photon. Then similarly it leads to E minus and E plus. So this is the basically diagram. A neutrino beam is incoming, then through the kinetic mixing it is interacting with the nucleus. You are producing this sterile neutrino, and which is further decaying if it is below muon threshold, and further decaying to E minus and E plus. And if it is on cell, this E minus E plus will be collimated, and you will, it looks like a single electron-like events. And this is the relevant part of the Lagrangian, which we already proposed in the model. So then it will look like this. So if you are producing N, and then if it is highly collimated, then you will look like a single electron-like events. However, I should mention, if it is off cell, then the angular separation between these two electrons will be much more larger. Then it will be not like electron-like event. It will be like two overlapped ring, which is not they are observing. So they can distinguish this angle. They have precision of 13 degree or so. Below that, they cannot distinguish this thing. But the microband, however, microbone, however, they can distinguish this angle. So then we look for this, and if it is collimated, E plus E minus where is collimated, and it will be classified as electron-like event. And okay, now I'm not going into detail. So for one benchmark, I'm just showing this black one is the observed data, and we get a very good fit on this. You see for right-handed neutrino mass 420 MeV or G dark to be 30 MeV. The blue one is our fit, and which is fitting very well for the spectrum. There are different realization after that people propose by Ballet and company, and then Joachim and group also come up with some decaying neutrino interpretation after this. So then also you may ask, like, if you have so much that light particle like MeV scale, then there are severe constraints on kinetic mixing, and also in the mixing on the neon flavor neutrino. Yeah, there are severe constraints. But as you see, we are lying in the, there is a nice paper by Aiten et al. And we are lying here around this kinetic mixing, which is safe. And also there is a nice paper by Digubia and company for global, like any neutrino mass and this UMU4 mixing plane from Mitchell spectrum, lepton universality, K meson decay, pi meson decay constant. This is already updated, although this is an old paper, but this is already updated. But still we are consistent with the parameter space. The stringent, the red one is the experimental constant, and this is our outcome. If you have any model which has a mixing with your sterile neutrino, has mixing with the muon flavor neutrino around that scale, and mass of the neutrino, if it is around that scale, you can get this mini-Boone access very good. This yellow is consistent with 1 sigma of the experiment, green one 2 sigma, like that. You can see if you going the higher mass, you cannot produce in the experiment. So that's why the fit is getting bad. However, whether this mini-Boone signal is true it or not, but as I earlier mentioned, if the lepton number violation or this neutrino mass generation is happening at very light scale around this below electroid scale, there could be some lepton number violating signature at the neutrino experiment somewhere to show up. That has not been looked into. So similar like GD can decay to mu plus mu minus or pi plus pi minus pair, much easier signature. So there are some several implications of this type of model. Actually, it could be, or maybe collimated E plus E minus pair in Minos plus Nova or T2K. We can explore in the neutrino experiment. The summary of this mini-Boone access: this is a novel expression of mini-Boone agreement with all experimental data, novel simple frameworks, and it has deep connection to the neutrino mass generation mechanism, a realistic complete model below electric scale to explain neutrino mass generation. And this solves the hierarchy, not solves, I'll say it will explain the smallness of the mu term of the inverse seesaw. It has some rich phenomenology which needs further exploration. Since I am talking about new physics behind neutrino mass generation at the intensity frontier, I should mention the several other aspects. Like you can look for, beyond standard physics in neutrino experiment, you can look for neutrino magnetic moment, dark neutrino which we proposed, and you can look for some G minus 2, lepton G minus 2 explanation at the neutrino experiment like that. And also heavy neutrino decay, as I mentioned, there could be some lepton number violating signature also. And also you could look for some dark trident or like dark matter signature at the neutrino experiment. As you see, you are producing dark matter in association with some dark photon, which further decays to E minus E plus, which they can detect very efficiently. This is proposed by Digubia and company. So neutrino decay, decoherence, non-unitarity, non-standard interaction, ultralight scalar, dark matter, there are various motivations in the intensity frontiers. You can like look for this type of mechanism or this type of neutrino mass generation there by looking at defined signature. Yeah, so far I mentioned about all the new physics behind this neutrino mass generation, how you can test at the energy and intensity frontier. But what about if we ignore the new physics? We know that we have standard model neutrino, and like if we can pinpoint like standard model neutrino, how it interacts with the standard model particles, or if we can precisely measure those interactions, then also if there is some deviation from that, we do not rely on any new physics. So suppose we measure neutrino interaction with matter more precisely, and we get some deviation, that could be some indication of new physics also. So before going to, and that is termed as neutrino non-standard interaction or NSI. Before going to NSI, I should talk about neutrino standard interaction. If you look at the neutrino, you have charge current interaction with W plus and G boson. So coherent forward scattering of nu E of electron in matter generates a potential. So there is some speciality about left figures, not about the right figure, because in the right figure, if you see G naught couples to nu e, you can flip it to nu mu, or nu tau. So neutral current interaction is universal. But however, for the W interaction, this is something special, which is realized by Wolfenstein, Mikhaev and Smirnov, and Mikhaev and Smirnov by 80s, which is called MSW effect. The reason is that matter consists of electron, and you know W coupling is flavored diagonal, so it has to be nu e. So your nu e fills some matter potential, which I wrote some naive estimation. In solar core, this is around 10 to the power minus 11 electron volt, which is like square root 2 of Gf times Ne. Gf is the G Fermi and Ne is the number of the electron density, which seems very small. But if you compare the 2 times energy of the neutrino times this potential, 2 times energy of the neutrino is around 10 MeV, times this potential, which is 10 to the power minus 4, which is comparable to the mass splitting of 2 active neutrinos. So that's the thing which is realized by Mikhaev and Smirnov, and it modifies the refractive index of nu e. So here you cannot flip the, as I mentioned, nu mu or nu tau, this due to this flavored diagonal nature. This is the standard interaction. Okay, if we get some deviation from that, then we can we can see some non-standard neutrino interaction, which could show some new physics. So this is basically unknown couplings involving neutrinos. Many neutrino mass models, like naturally, you do not have to, because if you are generating neutrino mass, in some of the models leads to some NSI at some level. So there is a nice review also, but there are less attention on UV complete model. So recently with Babu, Bhopal and Thapa, we worked out systematically all the radiative model, how you can get the NSI, or like whatever the NSI you can predict from these all these neutrino mass model. Also there is a paper by Tommy in 2012. So potentially observable effects in neutrino oscillation experiments. NSI effects happen in neutrino production, propagation through matters, and the detection process. Most important effect of NSI is the neutrino propagation in matter. There could be some complementarity between this collider and this neutrino experiment also. Let's look at that. So Wolfenstein in 1978, he nicely formulated this charge current and neutral current NSI in EFT approach. You can see this is a 4 Fermi interaction. 2 neutrinos are there, and there is 2 fermion. It can be electron or up and down quark due to matter interaction. So, but how, the question is, how does this picture change if there are non-standard interactions affecting neutrinos? So effective Hamiltonian you can write like that. This one term is coming from the standard interaction, and then the other terms which I am populating in the matrix, which could be some new contribution due to this NSI operator. Just I showed the same thing, which is effective propagation, NSI operator, which is effective production, detection, and propagation. So now I'll try to show some complementarity between these experiments, collider physics, and in this defined neutrino experiment, how you can complementary probe these NSI operator. If you see the operator, as I earlier mentioned, you have 2 neutrino and 2 fermion. If it is 2 quark, say up and down quark, this is the basically same operator. You look for at the LHC dark matter signature, missing ET, and then from one quarklet, if you emit some jet, it will be missing ET plus monojet. There are some dedicated dark matter study on that. But if you look at the signature, it exactly similar for the NSI operator also. This NSI operator leads to similar signature of missing ET plus monojet, and we have huge data from collider. So, and it can constrain this NSI parameter space from this signature actually very tightly. And we recently explored that. It has some irreducible standard model background, that's true. For a schematic representation I just showed, um, like in the left side, I showed like standard how Higgs was observed, like or in the different channels. So suppose in Higgs decaying to 4 lepton, you can nicely reconstruct the peak. But in this case, it is not like that. Since this is miscignity involved, you cannot reconstruct the mass. However, due to huge background, but in the tail, always you will see some so you will some enhancement due to this kind of signal. If you have some NSI operator, then in the emit met distribution you will get some enhancement at the tail. So this I'll not go in detail. These are experimental, just the background I showed, but the dominant background will come from standard G to nu, which will leads to miscignity plus Z, and PP to W, which will also miscignity plus Z. Major limitation is like large and uncertain backgrounds. There are new theoretical and experimental efforts are significantly suppressing the systematic constraint. Okay, let's take a look at the how it looks. If you have this NSI operator, which is EFSA, your cross section will go like there will be standard model contribution, and there will be new physics contribution, which is proportional to EFSA square, this NSI operator square, and there will be interference term. However, we find that interference effect to be negligible. Okay, then also another thing I should mention, flavor changing and flavor diagonal. For flavor diagonal case only, it interferes with standard model. But if it is flavor changing, because there is no standard model analog, for flavor changing case, it will not interfere with standard model. However, we find the interference effect to be negligible in the region of interest for the LHC sensitivity. And as you see the signal for the red one, there is some slight enhancement at the tail over the standard model background. I'm not going into detail of this experimental detail, but just I should mention, like there are some standard miscignity plus monojet charge from Atlas collaboration, and they look for different threshold, 10 threshold actually for miscignity, 250, 300, 350 like that, and there are several cards. We follow the similar strategy. We adopt that search strategy and impose the like how much you can probe for NSI parameter space. And then obviously you can ask, if you see the operator in you have quark-quark and neutrino-neutrino. If you have quark-quark coupling, suppose you can think of some G prime type of vector boson which has couplings to neutrino-neutrino or quark-quark. It also leads to Diejet signature. You cannot like escape from that. You have to consistent with Diejet signature also. Diejet will also give some bound. This is the summary of the Diejet bound, which we will translate. Okay. So then in the recent paper, we have shown that here in the right side, I show the NSI operator, effective operator. Then you can adopt it in some simplified model. By simplified model means you have some G prime which has couplings with neutrino-neutrino and a coupling with quark-quark like that. Then you can write down these NSI in terms of these couplings and mass of G prime. As you see in the y-axis, this is NSI and mediator mass. After a certain mass, this is getting flat. This black, this is the bound. The black one is the current existing bound adopting the dark matter searches, missing it. And these psi EE, psi E tau, these are different constant from neutrino experiment. We take from some global fit, from there we impose the constant. As you can see, LHC actually in some of the cases is giving severe constant than the neutrino experiment, which can be nice complementary to the neutrino experiment. Here I should mention one more thing. As you see, we can identify the EFT regime for the LHC when the mass of the mediator is much above the scale of the process involved. Then the constant is like that. And this blue shaded I should mention, we give some high luminosity LHC projection. You can see it can give constant like around 10 to the power minus 3 also, which is very tight for the NSI parameter space. However, the EFT regime is inconsistent. If somebody like directly put the constant, we showed that it is somehow inconsistent in the sense that if you have some G prime couplings to quark-quark and neutrino-neutrino, it obviously this G prime will decay to quark-quark and neutrino-neutrino. So its total decay width should be greater than the individual decay width of this quark and neutrino, this simple argument you can translate into the NSI bound, and then you will see that this is inconsistent theory parameter space. If you deriving some in EFT limit, which could be for the NSI case, which could be inconsistent. And this dashed line which we put, that is from the Dirichlet bound, which I already mentioned. For the light mediator case, which is still fine. So yeah, then we can show some nice complementarity between this LHC and neutrino experiment. There is some well-known degeneracy. Differently from LHC, the effect of NSI neutrino oscillation strongly depend on the flavor structure. But LHC is completely blind on the flavor structure. It's like missing it. It doesn't know any flavor. But for neutrino experiments, they are sensitive to the flavor. The effects of different NSI or variation of the standard oscillation parameters can in some cases compensate each other and leads to well-known degeneracy. Actually, LHC can remove this kind of degeneracy. And in contrast, the monojet signal at the LHC doesn't distinguish between different choices of flavors, as I already mentioned. And this is for the Dirac CP phase and psi e tau. This is also one example I am showing. You can see the LHC sensitivity displays a strong dependence on the mediator mass only, but it is free of parameter degeneracy. However, neutrino oscillation measurement, on the other hand, exhibits the opposite behavior. Significant degeneracy is there, but no mediator mass dependence. This is a nice complementarity. And also, neutrino oscillations are not sensitive to axial interaction, while LHC data is sensitive to both vector and axial new physics contribution. This is actually recently done with Dorival, Pedro, and Babu. We wrote this paper. All these features show the synergy between the oscillation measurement and collider data on probing these new physics in the neutrino sector. Then obviously one can ask, like when you are taking simplified model, which is maybe if you are going to some UV complete scenario, this is not the complete picture, because any UV complete model of neutrino NSI is expected to provide a more extensive phenomenology, since neutrinos are the part of the same doublet where charged leptons are. So then there will be some, if you writing down a complete model, then there could be some other constant also which could kill these kind of things, like whatever the NSI parameter space we are constraining also. Then we took a model proposed by Babu, Friedland, Machado, flavor gauge model below Fermi scale, which is B minus L number is gauged, but only for the third family. Then we get that this black line consists of many constraints from the low energy experiment. Then we see like BB bar tau tau kind of signal also gives some stringent constant on the EFSA, and missingity plus monojet, which we showed earlier, that is also there for some of the parameter space, which is also stringent. There is some T parameter constant. And the right side is in the UV complete model, we find that it is completely ruled out by the perturbativity. So that's here just I mentioned for masses below 10 GeV, low energy observables to dominate. For the intermediate range, dedicated search to visible signature at the LHC becomes more relevant. For 0.1 to 1 TeV, monojet searches are become relevant. And this makes manifest the complementarity among collider data, oscillation measurements, and other low energy observables. Just I will just flash the main plot, like the black line, whatever I am showing from low energy experiment constant, that consists of actually various constant like B meson decay, K meson decay, upsilon decay, D2 invisible decay, different constants. These are from different experiments in the gauge coupling and mass spin. For other studies of NSI, look at these papers. There are other papers also. Even if Mikhail wrote recently on some general neutrino interaction, which is also like which should cover also the NSI. Okay, so I tell about energy frontier probe in new physics, intensity frontiers. Then I try to give some complementarity between these two. And then I just briefly mention in 1 and 2 slides. So the NSI, how you can generate in the, as I said, in type 1 or type 2 seesaw or type 3 seesaw. If you see in the normal seesaw, the NSI you can generate, which is very tiny or appears to be difficult to probe at different experiments. You can write down in terms of non-unitarity, whatever the U matrix I shown at the first slide. You can write down in terms of this non-unitarity of the mixing, and there are several constant coming from that. Actually, I'm just quoting the numbers, which is very tightly constant, which is not at least observable effect it could be. Then we found that in radiative model, it could have some sizable NSI due to this charged heat exchange or some leptoquark exchange. I should mention radiative model, like how you write down this, basically a neutrino lepton. If you replace lepton by quark, then it will be, instead of scalar, it will be some scalar leptoquark. These are the radiative models. I take the simplest example. We systematically investigate all the radiative models. But I just show here one diagram for the neutrino mass generation radiatively. Since there is some chiral suppression as well as loop suppression, you get neutrino mass very tiny for some sub TeV scale or at the electroweak scale new physics. And you will generate NSI via this type of diagram, via this leptoquark or this charge scalar. Then actually in our paper, this long paper with Babu, 125 page paper, we basically classify all this radiative model, and we figure out that we give nomenclature of this radiative mechanism, type 1 and type 2. In type 1, how we define type 1, if the one loop diagram has at least one standard model particle in the loop, then you have very limited possibility of the neutrino mass generation through the loop level. Then this can also, you can cut down the operator and you can generate such effective operator via this dimension 7, 9, 11, how it is nicely classified in Babu and Leung's paper in 2001. Then it was like a nice review which covers these things. However, there is a other class which is called type 2, which you give type 2. You see there is no standard model particle inside the loop. It cannot lead to any NSI because you cannot write down also, but cannot be cut to generate these operators, whatever is written down. So this type of model, if there is no standard model particle in the loop, these models predict negligible NSI. Based on that, this basic thing, you can classify type 1 radiative mechanism or type 2 mechanism. Type 2 mechanism, one classic example is scotogenic model. Okay, if in near future, suppose some non-standard interaction we observe, we can immediately turn off these type 2 radiative models because these don't lead to any sizable NSI. Yeah, there is nothing good or bad, but this is a nice way to classify in two categories. And as I mentioned, there is very limited possibility generating these operators. I'm not going in detail, just I'll give one example. This is one classic example of G model, which is the type 1 case. Here you write down neutrino mass in terms of this two coupling, F and YU coupling. You have a charge singlet and a charge scalar from the doublet. You see this F coupling is antisymmetric because this is singlet, so it will be antisymmetric in nature. So if you try to turn on some large coupling, you see like in both places it turns on and it leads to large lepton flavor violation. However, there is some room whenever you have this coupling YU cover, there is some room. If you do not take any two entries in a single row large, then you can avoid the large lepton flavor violation. So basic problem of constructing a model generating NSI is the charge lepton flavor violation. How you can evade that? If, as I mentioned, if you populate the entry along the column neutrino flavor change, along the row charge lepton flavor change. So if you populate along the column, it's not dangerous. But if you have two entry in a single row, very large, two are simultaneously large, then it leads to large lepton. We play around that and we explore all the possibility. Actually, like from what minimum to maximum NSI, I'm just flashing one case for G model and one case for leptoquark model. For different experiment, lepton universality, oscillation constant, left monophoton constant, some ice cube atmospheric constant, and this is dune projection. You can get in like as maximum like 10% NSI, which is sizable, which could be detectable at the collider. Even if for EFSA tau tau case, you can go as maximum as 30% of NSI. So which is sizable NSI. Basically, there are a lot more model we explored. Then we classify. You can actually all the radiative model you can classify in these 5 categories or whatever, yeah, 6 categories I think. And what is the maximum NSI you can achieve up to, that I am showing for 6 flavor case. That I am just summarizing this table. To get this, we have to go through several constants like charge breaking minima, lepton flavor violation, collider, and many other things, meson decay constant, but I'm not showing you there. As a nice outcome, we figure out that there could be some interesting probe at the ice cube. So ice cube still actually did like they are supposed to observe some Glasso-like resonance. Glasso-like resonance means ultra high energy neutrino is coming. It is talking to matter like an electron, and then you are producing W. It looks like Glasso resonance. If they will very soon observe, they have some data. And that is in the energy of the neutrino, which is in 6.3 PeV. And we checked the all constant. We found out that in this neutrino mass model, which is a charge scalar, which can be low as 100 GeV, it can also be like in similar fashion. It could give rise to some Glasso resonance, but around 9.3 PeV. So which is 100 GeV scalar. That is also, yeah, I wrote with Babu and Sui. Sui is like ice cube expert. Then we have analyzed this possibility, and the spectrum will look like this. If you see the Glasso peak, beside that you can look a G burst. We termed it G burst because the G model has some scalar which is termed as G scalar, which is G scalar burst, which is a nice like generally from the ice cube, whatever the NSI constant, that is from low energy, not from this kind of high energy events. So high energy events, if you are producing this charge scalar, then you can probe directly this NSI. That's what our proposal was, and was published in PRL. Okay, so far I talked about maybe I don't know what is the time, but I quickly probably try to wrap it up. So within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I talked about energy frontier, lifetime frontiers, and intensity frontier. Now let's take a look at the cosmic frontier. What can neutrino physics tell, or this mass mechanism can tell? Recently, there is some long-standing disagreement between direct measurement of H Hubble tension and early time inferences. So I'm not going in detail. I'll skip because already I'm out of time. So there are nice proposal like self-interacting neutrino can solve these Hubble tension. As you can see, the best fit point for this case for the strong interaction mode and for the weak interacting mode. However, the positive correlation between H0 and N effective with the amplitude of the matter power spectrum as observed in the CMB data prohibits a resolution of the H0 tension simply by increasing N effective alone. The large scale structure prefers low sigma 8. However, a delay in the onset of neutrino free streaming during recombination could achieve both, breaking the positive correlation of the H0 and sigma 8 while solving the Hubble tension at the cost of increasing delta N effective during recombination. We adopt this idea, but then one can ask several proposals like the realistic model is difficult or so, then we try to work out that can one have such an enormous neutrino self interaction in realistic model, and then we work out this G effective is almost 10 to the power 9 times of G Fermi. And we proposed the model recently with my colleague Andreas here in Max Planck and Barbik from University of Bonn. The simple extension is like if you have some U1 dark sector, you have some singlet scalar and one doublet scalar, then you can have some light vector mediator which strongly interacts with this right-handed neutrino. And via the mixing, here your G4 neutrino interaction will goes like Gx square epsa m to the power 4 over this dark mediator mass square. And you can get actually the parameter space which we are like the y Yukawa is constant around this scale, and this mixing will be constant around this scale. You can ask like mediator strongly interacting with neutrinos are highly constant by the bound of delta n effective during BBN. However, while one may feel that it is just a relative short time between BBN and recombination, we recall that it is still 6 order of magnitude in temperature. If you see like the CMB scale, then G prime mass here, and then this is the symmetry breaking scale, this E1 breaking scale, and this BBN is happening here. This certainly is enough to establish a mass scale, say after a phase transition, and subsequently integrate it out to obtain a decoupling behavior of neutrinos during CMB closely resembling. In this way, neutrinos decouple by the new interaction only after BBN and fall out of equilibrium shortly before or during recombination. There are some other constants people showed for this type of neutrino self interaction. So recently paper by our group, Rode, Johan and Junjai, they showed that like this strong interacting neutrino self interaction is tightly constant by neutrinoless double beta decay. However, we said that like in the case of momentum transfer, they treat it in effective EFT approach. So it is not applicable to our case for light mediator like EV scale mediator. The bound is not applicable. Even if for the other cases like Manfred and Wagner, Kevin Kelly and group also, they wrote a paper summarizing all the Mason decay constant and stuff, we are safe from that constant. And now this is the final slide. So we just I'm not going in detail of this paper parameter space. Okay, so one outcome is that also we are not motivated by this thing. We mainly try to propose this neutrino self interaction. We figure out that the parameter space we found, this is also the correct range to potentially resolve the short baseline anomaly, which is proposed by Joachim, Pedro and company and Andre Guguvia, this decaying hidden neutrino solution that is perfectly fitting for this type of case. So summary, neutrinos are one of the most abundant of all known particles in the universe, but yet the least understood ones. Here I give a try to revisit what sort of physics we expect to learn from different frontier and giving some complementarity. Seesaw models are attractive, but we don't know yet where this new physics scale is, whether it is 10 to the 13 GeV or GeV or KeV scale. Only if we determine this, could we make the fundamental progress in underlying theory? Then we ask ourselves two questions. One is, can we observe the new physics associated with the neutrino mass at colliders or other experiments? Answer is yes. But if we can ask like, must we see the new physics effect? The answer is no, because we don't know actually. But we should be optimistic to probe all these scales and try to probe if there is something nice new physics is appearing in near future. So this is my neutrino clock, as I mentioned, and this will go on unless or until we are getting something new. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sudip, for a very comprehensive overview over neutrino phenomenology and different aspects of it. So we have time for questions. Who would like to go first? You can either just directly speak or raise your hand. And maybe I can go first. So one question with those NSI models. So you basically looked in that paper, you looked at the different models and you classified it according to those what particle is in there. Is that right? So laptop quark or and so on.
Yeah.
Can you could you, when you look at the operators at those dimension 7, 9, and so on operators, could you see which ones lead to NSIs, or is there, in which way would you basically see which models lead to NSIs and how large those NSIs are?
Okay, so obviously the lower dimension operator, as you mentioned, the dimension 6 operator, which is the for the NSI operator, FF bar, FF nu operator, which is the minimal. We stick to dimension 6 operator and we try to explore what is all the possibility.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering about neutrino masses. So let's say neutrino masses is generated
yeah, no, then also we look for all the operator. Actually, we worked out all the operators means we take each individual operator and what are the UV completion. We actually did a rough sketch on that, or also Manfred and company, they also summarizes this T2 forest paper also has all these things, and we whatever the possibility, basically most of the cases in these radiative models demands either charge scalar or leptoquarks, right? The operators basically depends on how you are contracting this. You are contracting lepton with quarks or lepton with neutrino, and based on that, basically we take a look at all the possible models and whether any models is giving large NSI or not. Then we came back to the similar features, like in some of the models we found that like this scale has to be very heavy, then your NSI is very small. Whatever the classification we give, what is the maximum NSI you can achieve up to, not the yeah, maybe I can tell you in detail later how we did that.
Yeah, okay, no, I would be interested. I see another question here by Bruce. Maybe let Bruce ask the question first. Bruce,
hi, so first of all, thank you very much for the talk. At one stage, one of the processes you discussed involved mixing between a dark photon and the photon in order to achieve the process that you were after. You mentioned some limits from existing experiments in relation to that, but it went by too quickly for me to understand whether you'd considered limits from light shining through a wall experiments to that sort of process.
Which experiment? Sorry.
Okay, so people do experiments where you essentially take some extremely strong electromagnetic source, for example, a laser, and then you block it by, literally a wall. And if there is a coupling between the photon and some other vector, then you effectively produce on the other side of the wall a beam of those particles. So people do this in connection with, you attempt to, you then try to measure the state on the other side of the wall by putting in a strong magnetic field or some other process. I mean, there's several of these experiments have been done, but I didn't understand whether such experiments would produce a signature from the process that you showed, or whether that's been checked.
No, I think we do not check the process you are saying, but we actually take the constant from, as I mentioned, from this paper. Like they consider only NA48, this beam dump experiment constant, K Corset, or this.
So could you back up by 1 or 2 slides to where you discuss the process? Yeah. Okay. All right. So
I think those processes will be suppressed, Bruce, in this case.
Because?
Well, you don't have trilinear coupling here. It's just F mu, okay?
Okay.
So one is a magnetic field. So you basically need something like a light by light scattering or something like that.
All right. Okay. That really was my question. All right. Thank you.
Coaxions is a different story, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I can't make that analysis from 30 seconds of looking at a Lagrangian, but since you can, that answers my question. But thank you, Sudhip, for the talk.
Do we have other questions? I think we can take one more, but nobody wants to go. I have more questions actually. So one, when you look at the LHC, NSIs at the LHC,